as a man thinketh, so he is. This is something that I feel like we take for granted, that even though we know the power of our thoughts, the power of our words, the power of that which we put into our bodies, whether it be physical food or images or anything that our senses can take in, we don't realize how powerful that statement is. And it's part of what keeps us stuck, battling change in life, and not progressing at the level that we would like to. I'm Latia, and I enjoy personal development. I'm a data engineer, and I'm building out a business. And when it comes to thinking, I do a lot of it. I think about people I see in the subway, in the streets. I think about my family. I think about my goals. I think about my dreams. I think about challenges to those things and why can't I do it. And a couple of my dominant questions for myself tends to be, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? How am I messing it up? I tend to assume responsibility for situations, whether I am at fault or not. So then sometimes I become a scapegoat, accepting the blame instead of being a powerful person, taking responsibility and moving on quickly. So there becomes a lot of emotional burden that gets added to it. And I also wonder, leave me alone, get away from me, go away. That tends to be something that I want from people, especially when I'm annoyed or bothered, which can be a lot. And then there's also this element of no one likes me. So there's this feeling that everyone hates me, everyone's against me, why would people care about me? And it's something that I didn't become aware of it until a couple of years ago. I kind of always knew that I kind of was like, man, people are just mean to me and they look at me funny and just things like this. But I was doing a paired share with someone, and after we wrote some stuff down, I was just like, why does everyone hate me? I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. If I think everyone actually hates me, then of course I'm not going to want to do things or feel good. And when I do different programs, sometimes they'll ask you, what are you wanting to get out of it? And one time I was like, I would like there's this feeling I have of being an existential burden, as though I have to clean up the remnants of my existence as I go along. So it's, how can I be as small as possible? How can I not make waves? How can I stop creating these problems that I seem to create everywhere I go? How do I stop doing that and start feeling worthy, valid, alive, human, as though I matter, as though I'm powerful? And it's fascinating because it's not like I don't have successes or wins. There are definitely things that I've accomplished that feel good, and I'm very proud of myself, and it's great. And there's always been this nagging feeling of something's not right. And usually I assume it's me. It's well, I can't control anyone else in the world, so I can control myself. What is it that I can do to change my perspective, to change my behavior, to change my this, to change my that? And so I'm always looking to fix myself, even though I don't want to be fixed. And it's interesting because so many people try to give unsolicited advice, try to tell me what to do, try to give me criticizing feedback of fixing things. And recently it's okay, if my thoughts are creating my reality, and my thoughts definitely tend to be on that same path of what is Latia doing wrong that she could do better, or what's wrong with her, then why wouldn't everyone else just assume that I'm some crazy wonky person who needs help and be concerned about me and all of these weird things that keep showing up for me? And so I guess it's on multiple levels, especially with the reading that I've been doing, where the premise of a lot of these things are the challenges that we face in life are the result of our thinking. They're the result of how we see ourselves, how we see the problems, our perspective. So at the end of the day, when I was in Georgia, I met this photographer, and he told me that the universe revolves around every person. My universe revolves around me. Your universe revolves around you. And when I first heard it, I was just that's kind of weird, but it's very true. That makes sense. That at the end of the day, everything that I think, feel, see, witness, engage with comes from me. So what do you think about that thought, I guess, to start with? So please comment and let me know, how do you feel about being the center of your universe and responsible for all that you encounter? Because I felt like that is something where it's useful and could be scary. So the reason why I like it is because at the end of the day, whatever we are is like within this body. Like the body's part of it, the mind's part of it, the soul's part of it, all the cells in our beings and whatever things that we can't see, which are like the vibrational atoms and molecules and all of that. Like in actuality, what I've heard is that everything is just molecules and atoms and physical matter put together. We're the ones who created language and distinctions between human beings and things, and like we keep creating separation with our language. So if whatever I am is just some mass of consciousness, for lack of a better words, because it's just some consciousness that can perceive things, then this body supports me in receiving information through my senses, be it touch, sight, smell, hearing, taste. And then I hear there's a sixth sense of kind of like intuition or anything that you get as knowledge that doesn't come from direct like observation. So whether that's like you're on the same wavelength as another person and you can like get their thoughts and catch their feelings and get their emotions, and you're just in tune in that level. That comes from Outwitting the Devil and Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill. He talks about that as when we're on the same wavelength as people, we can tap into their information sources. So then if we're able to do that with different people and we take in all this information, then there's a part of us that processes that information, and that is the part that creates our beliefs and how we see the world. And then a lot of times what happens is we live into these emotional patterns, these thought patterns, these habits of thinking and seeing and relating that it's like, I know heuristics come up for me where if I've seen something before, then you use that as like a shortcut to seeing it again. So if I'm doing algebra and I'm doing the math with the two parentheses where you can do FOIL to do it, and then every time you see two parentheses, it's like you get into the habit of like, oh, that's a FOIL problem, I'm gonna have to do this process to get through to the answer. It's kind of like that, but we do that with a lot of things. So it might be an emotional situation, a pattern, like whatever it is, it becomes a habit. And so like what these habits do, and this is like coming from like reading multiple books on it, is a lot of times we get emotional habits like ingrained in our bodies. So not only are our minds creating it, but then our bodies produce these chemical responses. So now we're like emotionally trapped in this way of thinking, in this way of feeling. It's a feedback loop. And so I know Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about the mind body and the mind, and how like whatever you think often becomes part of your body, so it becomes habit, is now unconscious. So if your unconscious is already programmed with bad stuff, and then you add more bad stuff to it, and then you're kind of like trapped. In What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, that author says that it's subliminal programming. So our brains are hardwired with every time we've heard no, and every time we've heard that we're capable of doing things. And for most of us, around 70% or 75% of what we hear is no. So we hear more about, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. No, 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 block, block, limit. So then we grow up and we have this subconscious wall that we can't surpass. So in that book, I'm only at the point where he's like, now we're at this wall of all your bad programming. And if you had an airplane with a computer system where 70% to 77% of the instructions on the map were wrong, what would you do? And he's like, you wouldn't get on that plane. It's either going to go to the wrong spot, it's going to crash, and if you're going to France, which in this example you are, you don't want to get lost over the Atlantic. And I was like, that's a very fascinating way of putting it, because I do some programming. I understand a little bit about computers. And so I was like, that's an interesting way of putting it, and it makes sense. And it also reinforces even what was in Outwitting the Devil, where he talks about hypnotic rhythm. And to me, hypnotic rhythm is not only like just like that, it's like a trance state where it's like hypnosis, but it's also what goes into your subconscious mind that becomes habit and automatic, because now what it is like homeostasis. And the thing about homeostasis, or like anything that is habit, it's like the law of physics. It's like once you hit that set point where like, this is my homeostasis. I like Red Bull and Slim Jims because that's things I tend to like. So if this is my habit of eating, like I might do healthy eating for a bit, and then it's like homeostasis is gonna get it off, above, or below. And like if you go too far away from it, your body's just gonna be like, nope, freak out. I need that Red Bull. Give it back to me. So then you'll like go into your habits. So like that's one of the challenges of changing habits, is that your body likes to maintain homeostasis. It's in a trance-like state and wants to maintain what it's familiar with. And there's also just like, it takes a lot of willpower to get over those hurdles when it's like, freaking out. This isn't normal. I don't like this. So then when you're in that freak out mode, that's a lot to deal with. And I mean, like, it could even be a lot in a good sense where it's like, this is too good. Like for me, anytime I try to like eat well or healthy, I tend to go for salads, and I do that for a while. And then I feel bland. I'm just like, I just feel boring. Life just sucks. Like, I don't know what it is. I feel so flat. And then I was like, let me like mess up my system a little so I can feel better about myself. And I'll get Red Bull or some other kind of like unhealthy junk food. And it's like, oh my gosh, yes, I just needed that hit of badness. Feeling better now. But I also don't tend to have many reasons why I like change diet, but I digress. Change is hard. So what we think, we become. And it's tough to change thought patterns. It's tough to be aware of those thought patterns. And so there's a lot of opportunity for looking at how are we stopping ourselves? What is it that we're thinking repeatedly? And how are we making ourselves feel? Because even though we may not always want to give it credit, how we feel is the biggest part of what's dominant in our thinking. So if you're always feeling grumpy and cranky and complaining, that's me. Then you likely have some stinking thinking going on. But if you're always feeling happy or at peace, or you just feel like fine or neutral, I'd say that you probably have a lot of positive thoughts that make you feel good and fine, and you're just at ease. So neither is good or bad. It's just, what is it that could be limiting us, and how could we do better? And so from my perspective, it's like I'm looking at things from a thought place, and it's just like, I don't know, for me it's working and I'm excited about it. And I had such a great day yesterday. Like there was like a period of time where I'd read part of the book and I was like, this is so much like the last book I read, I'm gonna pause. And I just sat and I was walking and I was just thinking about how we are all the sum of all the experiences that we've had in the past. So every choice that I made is making me who I am and making me see the world as I am right now. And I have a chance to choose to see it differently so that in the future I respond differently. And Jen, yeah, it's just like a web, and it's amazing, and I'm excited, and I'm just like, all right, we got this. So please let me know what you think about change. How has it been for you? Do you notice any thinking that's been challenging for you? Please comment below and let me know. And just, I hope to see you next time. Like, hope you enjoyed this. Have a great day.